So we ask ourselves, what are semantic elements? But today I'm going to use the W3 School website, which I think it has already explained a lot of them, which will be easier for us to navigate through. You understand? So semantic elements. Can you see my screen?
Yeah, I can see it.
All right. So semantic element, what are they? Semantic element, the element with a meaning. So let's just create what we are doing. We do some examples and then create a folder. Let's see, I'm going to put it here and then create a folder. Let's see, I'm going to create a folder and then semantic. Right, let's make it semantic. All right, okay. So today we have our own folder. Then let's have our home page index.html. And then we bring our boilerplate semantic elements, and then maybe some heading semantic elements, right? Then we can just open our show view. These are semantic elements heading 1. So what are semantic elements? And then how are we going to use it? So let's see. Semantic element clearly describes its meaning to both the browser and the developer. So it is an element with a meaning. So example of non-semantic element are div element and span element, which tells nothing about its content. So for instance, if you have your editor and you write div like this, div is also an element, right?
Yeah.
So I can start typing something inside. This is a div, right? And then I also have what we call span. This is also an element. I can just write, this is a span, right? So these two things, they are called non-semantic element because when I say div, it doesn't tell the browser or doesn't tell the developer what it means. There's no meaning. The content inside doesn't have a meaning. You understand? When I say span, it doesn't have a meaning. You understand? So we call it non-semantic element. You understand? Because it doesn't
The
show the
span is
developer its
non-semantic
meaning.
element.
Yeah, it is non-semantic element. Div and span, they are both non-semantic elements. And most of them, these two things, the difference is that this, for instance, if I have div, this arrange itself in a block way, or it's a block element. You understand? And this arrange itself in a horizontal way, span.
Mm.
You understand? How would you understand this? For instance, we have first div. Let's say we have div 1 here, which is the first div. Let's have another div down there. Let's say we have another div. Then we bring write a break here so that you just separate this. So we have this div. Maybe let me say this is a div 2. This is a div 1, right? So we have div 1, div 2. This is div 1. This is div 2. So look at how it is arranged. It is arranged in a block way, in such a way that one element or one text is below the other. You understand? This comes and the next one it comes. So it's arranged in, let's say we can say it's arranged in a vertical manner. You understand? This comes, this follow, and the other one follows. You understand? So it has in a vertical, or we can say in a column-based manner. You understand? But let's say, look at the span. When you have second span, what will happen? So we have this, we can copy this, come down and say this is the span. What happened? This is span 1, this is span 2. What happened? This div arrange itself in a vertical way because the first one comes and the next div comes down. By the span, the first one comes and the second one continues.
Mm.
So you
Yeah,
understand?
the div you put it without putting break, but this one, like,
So
you
it's
didn't.
like this one, the div one is like you've put a break in between them. That is how it looks
Mm.
like. You
Okay.
understand? But the span is like there is no break.
Yeah.
You understand? Unless maybe I put break inside. So if I put break inside, then it come down. You see,
Mm.
I put break in between span 1 and span 2 here.
Yeah.
But for the div, there is no break within it. You understand?
Mm.
So in web design, there is a way or there is a situation whereby you will need this kind of div. You only want something to be here and the next one should be down. You understand? And that is why mostly when we are designing, because we design in a vertical way, we are designing things in a vertical way. So when you bring the div and you fill this content, you come down and give another div and fill this content. So that is how we build a website in a vertical way. How we understand? But there is a situation whereby you want something to be horizontal. When this one comes, let me remove the break. When this one comes, this one will follow. Even though you are writing it as this, you are looking at it as you wrote this and you come down and wrote this. But look at it as if this one is continue here like this, like you're writing something like this. You understand? Are you following?
Yeah, I'm following.
Hello? So that is how
Well,
it looks
listen,
like.
I'm following.
So this one
Mm.
is like, come
I said I'm
again.
following. Hello?
Hello?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yeah, I'm listening. Come again.
Okay. You asked me whether I'm following you. I say yes. I think the
Oh,
network
okay.
is not good.
Okay. So that is how it works. So its span is like a horizontal. You understand?
Mhm.
So div always like stack on each other. Down,
Yeah.
one move up and the other one comes down, the other one comes down. So wherever you add div, that is how it looks like. And when you look at this one too, div also similar to all the other elements like H1. You understand? So
Mhm.
like H1, if I add another H1 here and then add something like another semantics, maybe like this, you see that what happened. The other H1 also came down, right?
Yeah.
So div also like similar to like H1. They all come down. Like when you add, it goes down. But it
Mm.
is only span which comes here like this.
Mm.
You understand? And the others, which was the list, I hope you remember those lists. You understand?
Yeah.
So this span is the only one. That's why we call it span. Like it's span like let's say a spring. Normally a spring goes horizontal, right?
Mm.
So always think about this like that. Span like open. So when you add another one, it doesn't come down. It normally goes like horizontal way. You understand? But when you are coding, you are always looking at it as like this. But you always have to visualize it as it is a span. One is what moving in a horizontal way towards the other. You understand? So they are all in one line. So they are in a separate lines, while while span are in a single line. So that is why normally when we see div, we call it block. You understand? We call it a block code or block arrangement because one comes and then the down it comes. As we stack blocks when we are building, you put one block and the other one you put another one top. So that's why normally we can call it a block arrangement. And while this one is a span, it normally arranged itself horizontally. And so even if I add another span, it will continue. Like if I add another span, look, you see how it is. By the div, if I add a lot of div, it also come down. So this is vertical and this is horizontal.
Horizontal.
So always have to understand how the div and the span work. So in designer, you come across where you use the span and where you use the div. So for instance, here you use a span and you say, let's say you are writing the price of a product. So here, if you write, let's say mango, and you want the price here to be maybe $10, using how it's arranged. You understand? So now you have, let's say I'll bring the other one down. So now let's say I have these two span. One is mango and the other one is what? Is the price. But it is arranged in the same line. Look at. So always you can decide to use this mango in this field. So in e-commerce, a lot of people uses the span a lot. You understand? Or some people might use it when they are building a list. They can just use a span and they make it because when you go to my website like this, for instance, or even somebody's website like this, like you see features, form template, they are all arranged in span. You understand? So instead of this to come down, no. If you want this to come down, definitely maybe you need a sidebar. You understand? Like a side link. So that this one will come like this. But for the span, it's always like this. You understand? Although you can use CSS to change the layout of this, how it is arranged. You understand? But mostly, if you don't use CSS, you can use span to make it in this way. You understand? So if we want to achieve something like this, I can copy this and say, oh, maybe let me do this same thing. This is features. I'll copy this, right? And then come here and say, since they are arranged in a horizontal line, come here and say prices. Prices. Come down. See all prices. Then what again? Blog. Come here and see there is blog. And then what? Documentation. Right? Then come and say, oh, there is documentation. Then I see, you see that I have achieved this kind of stuff. Features, form, template, pricing, blog, documentation. You understand? So if I go somewhere and see that, oh, this one is arranged here like this, I can use the same thing to achieve that. You see here, this one comes, this one also comes, this one comes, and this one. So I can say, oh, let me achieve this kind of stuff. I'll say, I want to take this code. I'll come here and say, I'm going to use div, right? So I can can just go here and say, let me use div, paste it inside, no code. And below it, I have this text, right? But I can just go here and say, I'm inside this div. So inside this div, what I can bring my paragraph and then put them inside, right? So inside the div, I have div with paragraph, and then I have div. So this one will arrange as here like this. No backend code, and then it will bring the down one as like this. You understand? So you see this one is arranged like, let me delete this. This one arranged horizontally, and this one arranged vertically. I hope you understand.
Yeah.
So just put it in your mind, these two things, div and then span. They are non-semantic elements. They don't tell you what, they don't give you any meaning. You understand? But let's say you are on the semantic one. Look at, if I say image, you already know that, oh, this is image, right?
Mm.
So if I say div, what do you div? How do you understand? Even you yourself, you don't even understand div. But if I say image, it has a meaning. You will really understand, yeah, I should put image there. If I say table, it has a meaning, right?
Yeah.
You know that, oh, I have to put table. If I say article, you know that, oh, I have to put article. You understand? So that is how it is. Many websites contain HTML code like div, and the ID is nav, which you can easily understand that you want what? An ID of navigation bar, like header, like footer. You understand? To indicate navigation, header, and footer. So in HTML, there are several semantic elements that can be used to define different parts of a web page. Like what? Article is a semantic. Because you can explain it help the developer to know that this is an article element and the content inside it is an article. If you use aside, it tells the browser or it tells the developer this is aside, like this. You see how it is in the layout. So now if I'm developing a website, I already know that this is the format maybe I want. So first of all, what should I bring initially? Header. I can go here. Let's see, I will clear this everything here. I'm going to build a website. The arrangement is this. I'll use header. I'll use header element. First of all, I know that, oh, this is my header. You understand? Secondly, I know that I'll go and use my navigation bar. I'll go and use section. I'll use one aside if I want a sidebar, like in most in the dashboard. Or maybe I'll use article, or maybe I'll use footer. So if I go inside my website like this, what do you see? You see header, right?
Yeah.
You see from this section to top, you see it is header. Understand? And inside this header, we have what? All the links, navigation. This is the nav, this one, this nav. You see it? And then you come to which place? This is the hero section. You see, I call it hero section. So if I'm going to create this, I'll say section. And so if I create my header, I come down, maybe inside header, I will have my navigation bar. I say now. So immediately you type, you see it itself already there. You understand? So I can have something like this. And in this, I'll have all my link, all my link. Maybe this is home. we see I have my link. I have my another link, which is what? Which I can say this is about. I'll have another link, which is maybe contacts. We did about spam.
Hello?
You understand? How link behaving?
Say
How do you
say
see
come
it
again?
behaving? How do you see the link behaving? Or the is? How do you see it behaving? Is it behaving like spam?
Yeah.
So whatever element that you use, you have to know how it behave. You understand? So you see it behave as what? Horizontal
But
line.
here
So
say
that is
we did
why
not use the span, but
we
why
can
is
use the
it
span. Yeah, we can use the span. Like here, we can remove all these and say let's use span. It's also possible. But the reason why we are using link inside because link is clickable,
yeah,
right? Because here is a link, so I can click it. But if I use span, can I click inside the span?
no.
So that is why you are, for instance, if here is nav, because I say here is navigation bar where I can navigate through my pages. So if I go and use span and rule something like this is home and come down and say I have different pages and say this is about, and then I say this is contact, you
Hmm.
understand? So if I use it this way, I cannot click. It's just like a
Yeah.
text, which I cannot click. You understand? So
Mm.
we have another element which also can represent as a horizontal line, which also behave like a span, which is a link, right? So why don't I use that one? So because if I come down, let's say I use what A as a link and write what inside I write home. Come down again and say I use about. Come here again and say I use contact. So now look at the difference. You see that what do you have here? Here is only a text. I cannot click. But when I come closer to the link, you see down here for the link, I can click.
Yeah.
And then the link will give us an attribute which we can point to where we are going. Like maybe if you are going to some website like google.com, you can say www.google, maybe https google.com. You understand? So now I have a link where I can click and then it will take me to Google. So if I click there, it will take me to Google, which behaves similar to this, like this.
Mm.
You understand? So all the spaces that you see, you can use CSS to give the space. You understand? Or you can use some code like I think is HTML. I think it's double expression for space. I think space. So I think it's here. Let me see. I think they can give me. I think it's space. Okay. Let me see this. Let me see. With this one. This one to white space. Okay. So let me use this and see how it works. So maybe I can just put this here and see. Let me see. A bit. No, I don't think it works this way. There's another this and that I forgot some of them, but there are a lot of code that start with let me see, is ampersand 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 dot ampersand I forgot about the code, but mostly you can use something like I think it's a character that you can use to separate between all these things. But mostly the best way is to use CSS to add a padding left, padding right. You understand? Uh-huh. So most of the reason why I'm saying this one is better because this is a link. It's connected with a link where you can navigate through this link. I mean google.com. And so mostly that is what we use the navigation for. So inside the nav, you can clear this right, and use the link. So that's how mostly we develop. I mean a link with which navigate to our pages.
Mm,
You understand? So we have header, and inside the header, we have this. So even if someone takes your code and he wanted to read about it, when you look at this is header, oh, he already know that, oh, this is part of the head. He sees
mm,
inside there is a navigation bar. He already understand that, oh, these are the links which navigate you through the websites. So it gives a meaning. That is what we call it semantic
mm,
elements. You understand? Then
mm,
you finish with the, let's see, let me add a background color so that it will make it nicer. Background color, maybe let me add blue, and then I'll take the color to be white. No, okay, not the color here. Add the color to the nav bar so that color to be white. What's up? Okay, never mind. Let me just want something that will just leave the color out so that we can be seeing the. Okay, this one is, let me leave it this way. So you see how this one is now.
mm,
Understand? So we come. mm, What's happening? Then, okay. So see how this one is now, like a link. So this one
mm,
is our header, like in the on my website. Let's see from here. This one is our header.
mm,
Understand? This one is our head. Now, so it's easier for the person to understand if he takes your code. This one is the head. So it means that inside the head there are links. So that is semantic. You understand? It gives meaning. You understand? So let's continue. Here you have now, and then now you can have your section. You understand? Here, some people can use div here, but div is what? Non-semantic. But if you use section, the person knows that, this is section. So that's what I told you when I was looking at my website. I say this is heading. The persons know that the second which comes down is the hero section. The hero section is always at the front of your main home page, where if someone comes into a page, the first thing that he sees is the hero section. You understand? And it mostly give the clear view about what your website is. You understand? Some people can put images to be sliding. Some people can put some text to just explain the website. For instance, if someone comes to my website, the first thing that he will see is this. You understand? So he will even read this one. He knows that, oh, this is a design agency. You understand? So normally the first thing that you see, and mostly the hero section are mostly bigger sections. You understand? Because it's used to capture the the interest of the person, I mean the user, so that if he sees your website, he'll feel that, oh, this website is good, and if you want to buy something like normal like Amazon and something like this, like Amazon.com, look at their website. What is this? This is a hero section. You understand? So when you come to their website, you say, oh, this one is hero section. You also see what they are selling. So they can even advertise from the hero section. Look at make 2026 your year. New Year's deals just dropped. Understand? You can what go down here and you look at what they have. So this one is the hero section. You understand? So that is how it works. You understand? So this we can say this is a section. So in a section, we can put things that we want for the person to see. Maybe mostly it's an image that is normally used there. So you can use image inside IMG and get an image somewhere. Let's say you right click and see, can we copy their image and say yes. So we can copy the image address and then we can use it inside our website. How? Put it in the source and save. So look at, we also have it in our website. You understand? Let me open it using live server. And so I also have it, although it's bigger because we didn't change the size. So you can just change the size and then add the width. Maybe normally you can look at the width. You can even copy the width. Where are they? Look at right click, inspect. And so you can inspect the image and look at what they use. So look at the height, then look at maximum weight, right, minus 99. So we can just look at the image. The image is bigger, understand? So 1500, we can use this to 600. Maybe you can try and look at 1500, and then the height is 600, which we think is bigger. We can just change it to whichever we think it look nice. Let's see, oh, maybe, let me see, understand. No. Look at how it looks. You understand? So you can just play around with the size and look at which size is better. Maybe the 1500 could be better, but maybe you could use the open.
Hello?
Decrease the height. Let me see. Height 100%, see, and then let me see what the intensive take around 200 more. This is not what I wanted, because what they did was they used the bigger one and they cropped the image and they made it smaller based on their website. And so this, you see the image is bigger, but when you look at their website, they crop the image and the image is smaller. Or they left the image and the image is inside. Okay, so let me see something. Yeah, so you see how it is here. It is hiding. You see, it is hiding. It's here, up to here, and then it is hidden inside this. So it is at the back of this.
Yeah.
You understand? So that is why you see it as it is bigger in our website. You understand? So normally that is how it works. You understand? So this is how it looks. You can look at it as this way. Then you can say, oh, this is our link and this is our hero section, right? Okay. So what else? You have the section, and so this is your section. So you can create different section depending on the sizes. So you can create this section and create this section below it again. Just create a lot of sections. Or maybe you can use div, but div is non-semantic. So it's better you use the semantic element. Understand? Okay. So let's see. So let's continue. Look at the section element. The section element defines a section in a document. So this is our section, right? And the example
Yeah.
of this section is we have chapters, we have introduction, we have news item or contact information. You can have a website like this where I will have my contact information. If I go here, so this is a section. Look at here. This is a section. This also is section. This from this white background to up to here. You see, this also is different section. And then when I come to the map, you see this one is also a different section for the map. You understand? And the footer, you see how the footer is. So that is how we look at the sections. A web page could normally be split into sections for introduction, content, and contact information. So the example that they give is they have two sections in a document. So look at, they give first section and then another section, right? So when you copy this and say, okay, let's try it in my website, go here and say, I want this section. You see that this is the section. So you have this, you have that. So they are all different sections. So if someone comes into your website, he knows that you have this section and you have another section. So it is easy for him to read and understand what your code is all about. And then when you come to the article, it also had a semantic element and it specify independent, self-contained content. An article should make sense on its own, and it should be possible to distribute it independently from the rest of the website. So look at forum posts. You can have an article concerning one forum post or blog posts. Understand? A lot of those who do blog posts normally uses this article. Understand? Or users comments or product cards. You understand? Or newspaper article. You can go here and say one newspaper blog websites. Understand? You can look at this is magazine and blog sites. Look at how it is arranged. Right? Accept. Look at how it is arranged. So these are images that you can click and then can go inside and be able to read some of these blog. You understand? So mostly it's okay. Okay. So most of that is what I wanted to show you some of these bloggers. I think is this they have blogger.com. You see this blogger.com as a you can use Google, Google this thing to create a blog page. So I just want you to understand how it is. So let's continue the rest. So we look at the example they give. When you go to the example, look, so the article element. This is article about Google, Mozilla, and then Microsoft Edge. Understand? So first bring your article and write your article inside. And here bring another one. So it is a separate articles. Then when you come here, what again? This one, they apply CSS to it. It's the same as article, but they apply CSS to it, you see. So when you view this, you see, look at how it is arranged. You understand? So you write an article about what most popular browsers. You write this, you write this, and you write this. You understand? Then what again? Then we come to the nesting article. You can put an article inside an article, as we did before. When we are doing lists, you can put a list inside a list, right? So this is
Yeah.
similar. You can also put an article inside an article or an article inside a section. You understand? It just depends on you how you want it.
Mm.
You understand? So you find HTML pages with section elements containing article element and article element containing section element. You understand? So for instance, here, an article, it has header inside. You understand? It is an article, but it has header inside. Okay, this is the header and this is the article. You understand? So you have article here and then the header, it is inside. I understand. So that is how you view it. But again, we have footer. And normally, as you know, the element define a footer for a document or section. Normally, what you see is we have authorship information, copyright information, contact information, site map, as I showed you before. As I showed you, there is the footer. When you go down, what do you see? You have site map. You can use this as a footer. And this one too, you will see the footer. We have copyrights. You understand? Right to the Z. So this is the copyright test. So when you see this, you look at this one is the footer. And this one is also another footer. So you can have multiple footers within your website. You understand? It also contains other links that are connected to your website. You understand? So this is also how the footer works. Normally, look at how it is. Footer, you have the author, you have the or you can send email to the person. For instance, in my website, if you come to my footer, you want to click, you can click and send me a message. You understand? So here, whenever you see something like this, it is a footer. So when someone tells you, oh, go to the footer section, this is the place that he's talking about. You understand? So that is why it is very important for web design because it helps us to understand the structure of the website that we are building. You understand? Because now we know that, oh, we have something we call header, we have something we call section, we have something we call article, aside, you understand? And here we have nav, navigation element. So they shorten it as nav, stand for navigation, you understand? Notice that not all links of a document should be inside a nav. You understand? The nav element is intended only for major blocks of navigation links. These are the major blocks like this. These are major blocks of navigation link because it is the major block that links you to the all pages in my website. I mean the important pages in my website. So that's why we normally put the link inside here so we can navigate. Understand? So look at we have nav and then we have links. You understand? And here he didn't use span. You understand? We have to use what? Link. So if I click here, I want to see, you look at it, look at how it's arranged. So it also, the link also behave as a span. When you are writing, it's arranged itself horizontal. You understand?
Yeah.
So that is how it looks. And then we have aside. Aside element defines some content aside from the content it is placed in. It's normally like a sidebar. You know, when you open a website, you see sidebar. That is this one. We use this one to achieve that. Like for instance, if I open this one, normally they didn't make it well, but when you open it, it looks as like this. When I say that my family, it's saying that my family and I visited the Epcot Center this summer. The weather was nice and the Epcot was amazing, and I had great summer together with my family. So now, aside, you can explain something about this Epcot Center. I understand. So now this one is the aside. I understand. In order to see it clearly, let me open this one, the one they added CSS like this. So look at this one. You see the aside here. So this one is the aside.
Aside.
Like a sidebar like this. Normally, if it is a dashboard, we normally put links normally use links there so that you can navigate through there and click a link. So normally that is how it looks like. That is sidebar. So we have figure, which is that's why we say it is semantic. Because whenever you see it, you already know that this is what it means. Figure, you already know figure. It specifies self-contained content, like you have illustration, diagram, like in when you are writing an article, you can add some diagram or illustration from maybe the experiment that you did. You can add some bar charts. You understand? So this define a caption for a figure element. So we have figure caption, which will give a caption for this figure. And then inside you put an image. So normally look at, you say you want a figure. Which type of figure? The figure could be an image. It could be a diagram or a table. You understand? Or an illustration. You understand? So first of all, you have to bring the figure. So the persons know that inside this, it is a figure. So he will be expecting there should be an image or there should be an illustration. And the figure caption is there. So when I open it, look at how it looks like. You understand? So now what happened? We have what? We have figure. You understand? So this is the semantic element. So the browser knows that you need figure. And then what next? You brought an image inside the figure. This is the image, right? This is the what? Figure.
Yeah.
This is the image. You brought the image inside the figure. This is the image, right? And then you brought figure caption. The figure caption is this. And the text is figure 1. You wrote truly Puglia Italy. You understand? So the figure caption is describing the image where this place is. So mostly you can normally see this a lot in a lot of articles, right? Those who are writing articles or they are publishing their papers, you see figure 1, figure 2, figure 3, and they will write some short description here explaining the image. You understand? So this is what you can use to achieve that. Bring a figure, image, and the figure caption. So that's why figure is also considered as semantic element. And then these are some of all the semantic elements that we have in HTML. Article, aside, details, figure caption, figure, footer, header, main, mark, nav, section, summary, and time. And there are a lot of them. So these are some of the important ones that are mostly used. And it normally depends on the kind of website that you are building. If you are building a blog website, definitely maybe you use the article. You understand? If you are using a dashboard, you use the aside to have a just left links that you can be clicking in. You understand? Because it's relating to the content inside your website. If you have an image, you can have maybe figure caption, figure, and then definitely every website has a footer. and it has a header. Some uses main, and so that main content of the website. And some use section. Navigation, definitely use it. So these are some of the semantic elements that we use. So just understand semantic as any element that gives meaning. Understand both the browser and the developer, because immediately you write header, the browser knows header, and the developer also will understand that this is header. So that's why it is called semantic. And so if I ask you what is the difference between semantic and non-semantic elements, you can say semantic tells nothing about its content, while non-semantic tells nothing about its content, while semantic element clearly defines its content. You understand? Because if I say article, you already know that the content I'm going to write inside is an article. You understand? If I say aside, you know that definitely I'm going to put something aside like this, either left side or left side here or right side here. That is
Yeah.
aside. If I say section, you know that I'm going to write a section like this. If I say footer, you know where to locate the footer. But for now, if I say div, do you know where you can locate div?
You know,
No, you don't know, because there's no div. Where can I locate div?
yeah.
You understand? If I say span, there are a lot of span. Where can I locate span? Understand? So that is why semantic elements are also important, just to make sure you have a good website structure, make it easier for the developer and the browser to understand the code. So always make sure when you are designing, you normally see people writing all these stuffs. Understand? It's all about the way it has to be arranged. You start from the header, then you write your content inside. Maybe inside you put, it depends on, maybe you want the nav to be outside or inside. You can put the navigation, which inside will contain all the links. This will contain all your links. Or if you don't want to put it inside, you can put it outside of the header. It depends on how you are designing your website. You understand? And then below it, you say you want an hero section. You can write a section, and inside the section, you have what? You have your content. And if you want to add another section, you can finish this and come down and say, I want second section. If you finish, you look at it and say, maybe you finish all your website, you've written, and inside the section, maybe you want to bring in a text, maybe figure. You want to write a figure, you brought a figure inside. So inside you have a figure which is like an illustration. So let's say after you've written all your paragraph, understand, all your text like H1, or you've written your text, maybe let's say the head or the H1 will be, let's say, Amazon. Understand? And the paragraph will be about Amazon. Amazon is online, whatever. You understand? Then you say, oh, let me give a picture or an image of how Amazon look like. You can say, oh, I want to get an image about Amazon. Then you can go to the images and say, oh, this is how Amazon look like. This is Amazon. Copy this, copy image address, go to my website and see, I want to add image, put the source here. You understand? And after I put the source, then I see what I have. What inside the figure, I'll have my figure caption, right? Figure caption, which is this. Then what do I have to write? Then I'll write figure one. Then I say Amazon shop. You understand? So this is Amazon, and then this is the header. I explained Amazon, and I brought one image of Amazon. In the figure one, I'm just saying that this picture is Amazon shop.
Mm.
You understand? So the persons, when he comes here, you know that, oh, this, you have a figure inside. And the figure has a caption. You understand? So you can say, I
Yeah.
finished with section one. Let me go to another section, which is this one. Inside this, you can decide to put something that you want. Maybe if it is a link, depending on whatever you want. You understand? Maybe you look at here and you say, oh, here, and I want a different design like this. You can decide to put something like this. You understand? So it depends on you. So here you see this one is arranged like this, but this one is like this. So based on the layout, you choose which one to use. So if you realize that here you can say I have a section, but I want to divide this section into two. I want to divide this. This one is separate and this one is to be separate. So here inside you can use what? What can you use here? Span, right?
Yeah.
You can use span. So you say that, oh, this one will take the first span and this one will take the second span, right? So I can come here and say, I'll copy this and say, I'll paste it within the span. Then I come down here, I create another span and I say, I want this text to be, let's say we can make it 3. Understand? Then one minute. Then I have span. Is a span, the first span. The third is an image, right? So I can, no, this one is it's not an image. So let's say this is how you want it to be. So for instance, you have this one, and when you look at this, you have this. This is where it ended. And the other one is continue. So all these things, you can use what? CSS to control this. You
Mm.
understand? You can use CSS to control the spacing of this one. Maybe you can put something like maybe you can see class. I give it a class name of a section, for instance, right? So if I go to my CSS, I want to write, maybe inside I can just use normal style. And then I want to add a pattern. Maybe I say 20 pixels. And then let me see. Then when I come here, I say, oh, I want to add padding here. No, add margin here, 10 pixels. Understand? Then when I come here and say star margin, 10 pixels. Or maybe something like to just separate them, you see. You
Mm.
understand?
Yeah.
So it is normally something that will separate them. So when I go and I open the main website link, where is this? When I open it, you see that here it shows that it is separated. This one is different and this one is different. You understand? So you can use CSS to make this one be in a separate box and this one can be also in a separate box. You understand? So normally that is how you have to look at. Always try to know which element to use. Are you using semantic or are you using non-semantic element? And what does it do inside the browser? Is it arranged horizontal or it is arranged vertical? So that it helps you to design, if for instance you want to design something like this. You understand? Whether it's a column or whether it's a row. So that is how the semantic and non-semantic words. Yeah. So I think I don't want you to disturb. With a lot of lessons for today, but I wanted to show you the star guideline. But I think it's better I finish the course. Then because it entails a lot of how like you arrange some of the a guideline to arrange your websites. You understand?
Mm.
Maybe some places you have to use small letters, some places you have to use and it's just a guidelines what to use, what not to use. So even it is here, HTML best practice and accessibility basics. So this is when we finish with the audio and video with iframes. Then I will try as much as possible to show you some of the best practice before we go to CSS.